Hey, cabin lovers, and welcome back to another episode of my Dream Log Cabin podcast. I'm always grateful to have you with us today, and you're going to love this episode, whether you already have a log home, you're thinking about building one, or even if you've considered buying one already made. This episode is for you because we are talking about the subject that every log cabin lover needs to know about, and that is restoration. So with me today is Dave Sante, the founder of Top Notch Logworks based out of Colorado, as well as Jay Schuler, who is one of the founders and CEO of Nortec Copperworks. So thanks for joining us, gentlemen. I'm excited for this conversation and for the value that we're going to bring to our audience today.
Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Now, for people who might be either A, in the planning stages, or B, they're looking at buying a home, or they've recently bought a log home. Do you offer inspections if it's within your radius, like where people can just have you come out and take a look at the property and maybe highlight some of those things your trained eyes used to seeing?
Yeah. A lot of times when people are buying a home inspector, good ones, might have us out to take a look and see what we see. That is also something to forewarn folks about. Most home inspectors I've met do not know how to see rotted logs. They don't know what they're looking at. We replaced a major deck on a home last year, and the people just bought it. And the lady says, no, it can't be. It's just inspected. The guy says it's perfect. And one of my guys tore a piece of the log off with his bare hands and said, yeah, no, it's not. Your deck's going to collapse.
Oh my God.
So not to be scary, but it's worth having someone that knows what they're talking about look at a structure before you buy it.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. We have the same thing happening at Caribou, where we charge for inspections separately. So most people interested in a log home, they will pay for a traditional inspector because they'll check things like electrical and the walls and all the good things inside. But then, they'll bring us out and we just disclaim, we only look at the logs. We're not looking at anything else. Yeah. That's just what our specialty is. And so many times has that created value. But here's another power tip for those of you checking in. Okay, let me give you this. If you're in middle of negotiation or you've put an offer in, you have the chance to get an estimate at that time. So get that expert out there to look at the home, get an estimate, and then use it as a negotiation tool. Because I've seen that too, where, people, they didn't know that the logs were going to need to be refinished. And so we went out, we did an inspection, we said yes. We were able to provide an estimate, which was, of course, more than they were expecting. I mean, it was a big house. They didn't know what to expect. That's really the reality. But it really worked out in the end because then they were able to work it into the offer that they were making. So it's just better to be informed ahead of time if you can. So
yeah,
I agree with you.
Even though I believe people are legally required to disclose when there's things wrong, it doesn't happen many times because I've gone to the new owner and showed them the bid to the previous owner, like, well, they should have told you this had to be fixed.
Well, and also I think sometimes people just don't realize the significance. I can tell you it's easy. Like I said earlier, it's easy for time to pass and for you to think like as a homeowner, oh yeah, I know that needs to be done, but it's just maintenance. It's not like a major thing. Well, by the time 2-3 years went by and you just didn't blink, all of a sudden it is. So I think that's really why this is such an important conversation. And I would even go so far as to tell people, like, put it in your phone to remind you that you need to do a log inspection. Walk around your house intentionally looking at your logs, get familiar with what log rot looks like. What are some signs that you can be prepared for? And schedule a call with Nortec and get an estimate, like just see what it might entail to protect yourself for the long run. So Dave, you mentioned that log that your team member pulled the wood off of. The poor homeowner who just bought their house realized that they were in a
little shock.
Yeah, that was going to be a nice shock. What was the solution? Like, how did that end up getting resolved?
Well, in that particular case, we ended up having to disassemble the entire deck and replace all the structural logs, which we then treated with borate preservatives, we use cobra rods, which are copper arsenate and boric acid. You drill a hole, put it in, plug the hole, and it dissolves over time if the moisture content exceeds 20%, which is the case where rot will start to grow. We then flashed everything, the regular framing that we replaced. We use a product called joist tape that keeps your wood joists, this is just standard framing, from rotting where the deck board sits over the top of the joist and moisture dwells for so long. We also flashed all the logs with copper halfway over. It looks nice. The patina's out. You can't hardly even tell it's been done. And on the railing, a lot of people have railing posts that are starting to have rot issues, and they might not even be that bad where they are structurally compromised. But like on her home, we put a cobra rod at the base of each of her newel posts to help fight off rot issues. And then on the top, we put copper caps by Nortec. And again, logs, as Jay said, logs are straws. They draw moisture into themselves. If you cap the top of that newel post, you can prevent it from rotting for the most part. And relatively inexpensive thing to do, and you can do it yourself.
All right.
So highly recommend that being done. Anybody that has a log post, you got to cap it with a Nortec cap.
So I also wonder too, what are some like simple things that people could look for that might be indicative of rot? For example, you mentioned, he knew instinctively because he'd seen enough that he could pull off a chunk of that log. I mean,
Right.
Most people aren't going to walk up and try to rip apart a log. So what are some things that they could look for that might be a red flag?
Because we can even see it from the road when we drive by. When you guys at Caribou peel logs, for instance, use a draw knife and you peel a log, and it has the little scallops on it, and it's basically symmetrical for the most part, rounded surface. If you see a log that is starting to become concave, that means the log is starting to collapse in upon itself, because they say once you see rot on the surface, I've got a document and it states that, in fact, nearly 75% of the tension and strength of the wood may be lost prior to any softening of the surface. Prevention's a really big deal.
Yeah.
By the time you might see it, it might be too late. Otherwise, I think everybody has seen the crumbly surface of a log or pieces are starting to fall out. Definitely bad. If you see any mushrooms growing out of the log, that's bad. I've seen green plants growing out of the log. It's really bad.
Oh, wow.
Stuck a screwdriver in a log once and water poured out like a faucet.
Oh, no kidding.
That's really bad.
All right. So Jay, tell us a little bit more about Nortec and where people can find out more information.
Yeah, you can reach Nortec Copperworks by either going out to the web at norteccopperworks.com, or you can text us copper, that's 3 sevens, and we can get you information about how to get a hold of us. We have a full line of copper products, and we can do customs to your specifications. We also have a line of settling jacks that are often used in log cabins. So yeah, reach out and we'll help you out.
Excellent. Thank you.